Hi, I'm Todd Sanders, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Chamber. I wanted to take a moment to share some exciting news with you. Giving Tuesday is right around the corner, taking place on December 3rd. And this year, every gift made to the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation will be matched dollar for dollar up to $5,000, thanks to the generosity of our donors. This means your donation goes twice as far, directly impacting our future workforce by providing access to valuable college and career opportunities, helping to create a sustainable future for all Arizonans. Please consider a gift to the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation this Giving Tuesday, December 3rd, to help us make a lasting difference in our community. Visit phoenixchamberfoundation.com for more information about how you can donate.
Let's Talk Business Phoenix was produced in partnership with Ideas Collide, an agency offering a full suite of custom marketing solutions for your brand's unique challenges. Make a connection at ideascollide.com.
Welcome back to the podcast. We are thrilled today to have Jay Kaprosy, who is a partner at Veridus and our new chair at the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation. Jay?
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Appreciate you making the trek down here. We ask a lot of you these days, and so we're asking a little more. Thank you for doing it. We always like to start with a little bit about our guests, and there's obviously a lot of information and bios out there, but maybe give us a little bit about Jay Kaprosy and maybe some things we wouldn't know from reading your bio online.
Sure. I think, I'm an open book in many ways regarding, my time as a lobbyist here at the Capitol. And many are familiar that I do have history at the Chamber, having served as the Vice President of Public Affairs. So those things are all very apparent. Born and raised in Ohio and came out here to go to school at University of Arizona. So I am a Wildcat. It's where I met my bride. And, in terms of interesting things about me on a personal level, and this all too well, I am a gearhead. I like putting grease under my fingernails, etc. And so that tends to surprise people. I know which end of the hammer to use, etc.
And you're good at it, which is another word.
I have my moments. So, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And I think, on a professional level, what I think a lot of folks may not be aware of is actually what brings me to this work, which is kind of personal experience around the different pathways that we need to have for people to get to work, to benefit our economy. And that really drives me.
Yeah. Well, and I always think it's funny when you introduce yourself as an evil lobbyist for the forces of good. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it probably requires a little bit of a story. When you're a lobbyist and you introduce yourself in, amongst polite society, they tend to walk away from you in a room. And about, 2 adult beverages later, they find their way back and ask you, what is a lobbyist? And so what I discovered was that if I just kind of own it, make it a little humorous, we can skip right to what is a lobbyist and have that conversation. And so people are under the impression that they're not supposed to like lobbyists. And so a little bit of self-deprecation helps in advancing that conversation. But, in terms of what it is that we actually do is, we are helping our clients engage with government. And so that's both proactive as well as reactive. We monitor what goes on at the Capitol and we advance legislation where it is. So I think what people don't realize is everyone is a special interest. We've also given, lobbyists and special interests a bad name, but the reality is that we all have opinions and there's a process to getting those opinions out in front of the legislature in an effective way, and that's what we do.
Absolutely, and part of that process for you in cutting your teeth was at the Greater Phoenix Chamber.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a huge part of it. I had the benefit. My initial start was as an intern at the Capitol. Did some work for some work for the superintendent of public construction, and really laid down some foundation for education. Had an opportunity then to join with the Greater Phoenix Chamber, to work on that and work on a variety of those business issues, stay close to education as well. Obviously always been a big priority for the business community, and then ultimately became the VP of Public Affairs. And got a chance to do a number of different things, both on the lobbying side as well as on the political activity side of things. And I'm real proud of what we were able to accomplish in terms of influencing elections in support of the business priorities, building the chamber mega PAC. Everyone get their $10 contributions in. There's work to be done there, but that's important, and I'm proud of that work.
Absolutely, and it's interesting how it's still impacting us. I mean, thinking about at that time Prop 400, how important it was for us then. That was the work you did. Now we're at 479, same kind of thing, and some of the education work. So it's nice that there's a continuum there, and I think it also highlights the fact that good policy is not a soundbite. It's intentional, and it takes a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chamber has been really a really consistent voice in that space, which has been really encouraging, both at the chamber side of things and certainly the work that we're doing at the foundation. I know you and Jennifer hear from me regularly about how important it is to have that consistency, to stay focused on our objectives and to make sure that we are as responsive as we can be to industry, to the members that we serve, and the greater economy of the state overall.
Absolutely. Well, you're obviously a student of history and sort of policy. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the last 15 years as you look back, and where do you think we're in a good place here in Arizona? What are some of the challenges and opportunities?
I feel like a student of history is a polite way of saying I've been around a long time.
Learned, I would say.
Learned, yeah. I think things have definitely changed. It's impossible to avoid the reality that politics has gotten a bit uglier. It's become kind of a somewhat brutal as the world has changed, and things are changing quickly. Not everyone's up for that change and how quickly that is happening, and that's created some uniqueness in our system. And has brought about a great deal more populism, which has made the work of organizations like the Chamber that much harder. There's not the same common understanding of what it means to start a business, to grow a business, to, as I affectionately say, to sign the front of a check. And that perspective is really important in terms of how we support our economy. And so it's critically important that, organizations like the Greater Phoenix Chamber have that consistent voice and can carry that to the legislature.
Absolutely. Thinking about your time at the chamber and where our economy was then to now, is there even a comparison?
It's incredible how it's changed. I mean, 20 years ago, we were to a great extent lamenting how we were subject to just home building. That was kind of like our primary industry, which was home building and the retail that came from that. And we're glad we had it. I mean, certainly that has been a huge benefit to our economy, but we were so reliant on construction and tourism. And today we have such a diverse economy, more than I had expected that we would have. And, whether it's the growth in advanced manufacturing, which is impossible to avoid, growth in the service and the finance industry, everywhere is seeing some growth in healthcare, but we've really embraced that with really innovative partners like Mayo, the work that's going on at Barrow, et cetera. And so to be able to have some of that in our backyard and have that growth, that diversity of our economy has really allowed us to stabilize, to take out some of the ups and downs of our economy.
Yeah, certainly feeling that, back in the Great Recession, that felt like we didn't have enough there to keep us afloat during the downturn, which was significant.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the last recession that we came through, we were one of the fastest states to recover because we had so much more of a diverse economy and a continuing growing economy. So we were able to kind of pick up where we left off, whether that was, recession or pandemic, but to be able to bring those jobs back and then some has been great.
It's been cool to see, and certainly talking to my colleagues around the country, it's certainly, we're in an envious position. But to your point, we can't lose track of that and lose our focus. So you cut your teeth at the chamber. Now you're a partner of Veridus. Life is good, and we somehow reeled you back in. And then hey Jay, why don't you join our board of directors? And of course, we had other plans for you, but that was sort of our gateway back in for you. Why was that important to you? Why did you have a lot of demands on your time? Clearly, a family and a lot going on. Why was that important to you?
So for a couple of reasons. One is, I've always had a certain faithfulness to the chamber. But beyond that, I think what under your leadership and Jennifer's leadership at the foundation, et cetera, has been so inspiring is the evolution of what the chamber has been. It has kept all of the important foundations around public policy, around business retention and expansion, and dedication to the members. But it's evolved. And many of you have heard this speech where, we were an old school kind of chamber. I refer to it as a plaque chamber, where we were out just selling plaques to put in the window, et cetera. And while many of us still get a plaque and are still proud to hang that, there's so much more to the chamber and what it's evolved to be. A much bigger voice, much bigger player in all things in this economy. And then I think the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation really is an incredible additional catalyst to building out that mission. And who wouldn't want to be a part of something that's growing and that has proven to be so successful?
Well, we were thrilled to have you back, and we obviously had a longer range plan for you. And of course, we asked you to be a member of the foundation, and then also to join the executive committee. And we were thankful that you each time said yes. We'll see if we don't run out of luck here soon. But
don't forget about the PAC and chairing the Workforce and Education Committee.
And you're also a member of Public Affairs. Yes, You do have a lot, and it's meaningful. But obviously now as the new chair of the board, talk to us a little bit about the role of the foundation and sort of your vision for the foundation as we move forward.
Yeah, I think where we're at right now with the foundation is the growth over the first 10 years of the foundation has been exceptional and has been really focused on sustainability. And what I mean by that is being a long-term player in the space. Frankly, at 10 years, we've outlived most of these efforts that I've watched start and fail over the last 25 years. And so I think what makes this different is those genuine connections to industry, that genuine data-driven approach, and the ability to adapt as our economy adapts. We have been shifting and moving economically, and we've been responsive to that. So the work to date has been incredible. I think my role is to kind of oversee the next steps and what that growth looks like. One place where we're growing amongst the many different programs at the foundation is in Elevate Ed AZ. Obviously, K-12 education is a place that I'm passionate about, that I've got background in, and really feel like I can assist in that space. And I'm personally passionate about creating those pathways for folks to go, whether college is always going to be a viable pathway, but so are the trades, and so are industries that now require certifications rather than necessarily a degree. For many people, being able to access the economy, by that I mean getting a job, like a good paying job through certifications and some sort of education beyond their high school diploma, creates so many other avenues for them. And that avenue may bring them back to a position that requires a degree. It may not. It may be stackable credentials on top of that. So those are the things that I'm particularly excited about as the foundation moves forward.
Well, and to have a kid who kind of believes that there's not much out there for him or her, and that this economy isn't necessarily for them, to all of a sudden realize that there's a place for you, and let us help you get there has been, I think, really rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a mentality historically amongst many families that you had to go to college, and societally that's pretty much been the metric for success. The reality is that unfortunately, many folks don't succeed in that environment. They may not be ready for it. They may not be a learner of that style. They may have other passions that are beyond that. I've seen that in my own family. That helps motivate me in terms of what's possible. And when you find that right path, whether it includes a degree or certification or in an apprenticeship or what have you, it makes life that much easier. And that, you want to live to work, not work to live.
Agreed. One of the things that I think is, for me, surprising is, as we ask companies all around the valley to consider a high school intern, certainly when we first started, there was a lot of skepticism, but going from 0 to 400 interns in just 3 years. Are you surprised that businesses are looking at this internship program as something that's meaningful not only to the kids, but to them?
On one hand, I am surprised that, that uptake has happened so quickly, just because you don't see that kind of adoption that quickly. On the other hand, I've spent more than 3 minutes with Jennifer, and and I know how she operates, and I know how the high standard that she holds, everyone who's working at the foundation to. And so under that, reality, there is no better spokesperson and no better team to go get that work done. And I think there's also been a need from industry. And so our timing is right. I think that is based upon, frankly, the research that we did, the data that we've looked at in order to guide the foundation. So it's just another example of data-driven decision-making that is responsive to what industry needs are. And so in that context, there continues to be a lot of room to grow. The one thing that I've been really excited about in that space is that we're breaking some barriers that, that were barriers, that were challenges that in some times it was just an assumption. The one that comes to mind is the notion that, we can't hire anyone who isn't 18 inside our
huge barrier.
Yeah, it was a huge barrier. And the reality is it wasn't really a barrier. It was one that was kind of created by a little bit of history and, a little bit of just kind of gut for many people. And what we've come to realize, and what so many of our business partners have really embraced, is no, the earlier the better, if we can get them in. And so, some of those 17-year-olds who are turning 18 in their senior year are finding their way right into a job that wouldn't have been there just because of their age, because of, a few days or a few months that could have been the difference between their future. And I know how important that is. Just as a brief story for myself, like my success and my becoming a lobbyist was all dependent on literally 0.010 on a grade point average.
That's all. That was the difference.
That was the difference between me getting a letter for a legislative internship and me not getting a letter for a legislative internship. And that completely changed my life. And so to break down some of those barriers and to create those opportunities for more and more students is super rewarding.
So if an employer out there is listening and they're on the fence and thinking, I know that it's just a number, but I'm not sure about bringing in high school kids, what would you say?
You should rethink it. You should talk to some of the kids that we're talking about. These are kids who the difference between them and adult is a couple of months. And we have some really exceptional students that are out there that are mature beyond their years, that are motivated, that want to do good work and want to challenge themselves. I think we can get into a whole societal, soapbox about, how we're raising kids and what have you. But what I've come to discover, whether it's through the work of the foundation or my own kids and their peers, is they thrive on a challenge. The bigger challenge that you can give them, the more value that they see in the work that they're doing and the more that they step up. And so I would encourage any business that's out there to rethink that, to look at that as an option.
The opposite of the tyranny of low expectations, right? Give kids a goal and have high expectations of them.
Absolutely. And we see students step up to that time and time again. And I'll apologize ahead of time for some of the anecdotes, but I've had the opportunity to work with Teach for America for years and years, where we're putting our best and brightest college graduates into classrooms to really make a difference in low-income communities. And really the key there for moving students who have not seen academic growth of in every year of their life are now seeing 1.5 or twice as much academic growth because they have high expectations and you're measuring it. And, that is proven time and time again. And so let's make those challenges, and we certainly have the students to step up to meet it.
Well, stepping into maybe a couple steps closer into your world, last year with a big budget deficit, the legislature cut, among other things, some significant funding for dual enrollment for some of our kids. Maybe if you can give us a sense for why that happened and what that impact might be going forward.
Yeah, super disappointing. Anytime really high quality programs like that are cut by the legislature. The Phoenix Chamber really stepped up in a policy, bringing its policy voice to dual enrollment, and had some great success in getting some dollars there. The unfortunate realities of the state budget process is that it's a behemoth. It's grown to be very large. And when you've got $1 billion plus worth of cuts that have to be made, unfortunately, they start looking at kind of the last one in is the first one out kind of mentality.
That's how it felt.
And, so you get some of that. And then, it's without lamenting the budget process too much, it's just there are certain realities about trying to wrangle the votes to get a budget together, what have you. There just aren't a lot of folks who are intimately engaged in the budget process, the way that it works, the amount of numbers that are flying around, et cetera. There's just a limited number of voices in that space. And with something like dual enrollment, we still have work to do. There's a lot of new faces at the legislature after every single election, which means that we have to be ever vigilant in educating them on what's changing in education, what are the things that are impacting students that are benefiting our economy. Certainly dual enrollment does that. And, so dual enrollment's still pretty new to most legislators. And so we'll continue to press on that, to continue to push. Not everything gets done the first time around, and it all requires care and feeding.
You bet. And I think the important part there is that dual enrollment allowed for not only traditional colleges or universities, but also technical schools. And so across the board, to your point, this is an opportunity for all these kids to get something beyond a high school education.
Yeah, and dual enrollment, really what is so impactful about it is it gets that immediate interaction early. It takes the stigma or the risk, so to speak, of going to college or taking that next step or pursuing certifications, what have you. It makes it a lot less daunting by simply introducing folks. Takes a lot of the fear out of that equation, which means that you now have more students who are then pursuing that additional education beyond high school. Hugely successful.
Yeah. Well, shifting a little bit to more adults in the workforce, one of the other things that we've worked on is unemployed and underemployed folks in the workforce, or not in the workforce, and how to move them into that space. Maybe talk a little bit about the importance of that work.
Yeah, I feel like you've teed this up for me. This is an area I'm particularly, passionate about. Not only the work that the foundation is doing with Connect to Work AZ, absolutely killing it in that space. One of the newer programs in conjunction with Skills for America's Future, where we're taking those folks and getting them the skills, identifying them, and then connecting them with, employers that we have. As a society and as a policy makers, I think we're looking at a number of other options. We have, in my mind, I see a couple of different populations that are just untapped human resource. One is, we have arguably close to 1 million working age adults without a high school diploma. That's a huge obstacle to taking those next steps.
Especially in today's environment, right? When things move so quickly and so advanced.
Yeah, and there's just been limited pathways to do that historically. And so, I was real proud to be part of a coalition a number of years ago with community colleges, some private providers, as well as some work on behalf of Goodwill to advance a package of adult education. Much like dual enrollment, it found its way to the cutting block in the budget, and so there's work to be done there to really tap into that population. There's many success stories about people who don't graduate high school, but we shouldn't lose sight of the approximately 2/3 of individuals without a high school diploma are going to find themselves living in and through poverty. The other area is, whether we call it fair chance hiring or second chance hiring, individuals who have, in many cases, made a bad decision and found their way into the justice system. When those individuals leave the justice system, we have a new opportunity to try to engage them in the economy effectively and to do that. And so I think there's still some work to be done there. There's obviously some stigmas associated with that, but there's some really successful programs in that space and some really great organizations in our community that are doing work there. There's a great deal of policy work left to do there. Arizona has not necessarily evolved as quickly as some other states in terms of how our justice system operates.
Well, and much like the barriers we talked about earlier for kids under 18, people have gone in and paid their price and coming back out, but then all of a sudden they're at a disadvantage because they can't work, which kind of puts them back into a bad cycle. For employers who are thinking about this, and we'll ask the same question, what are some things to be thinking about if we want to give someone a second chance but are nervous?
Think about it. It's, I think for too long, so many employers have simply said no. And that's where they've started at. And so there hasn't been any consideration about whether there's a role in their organization for individuals who may have a criminal history and what that looks like. And I think in many circumstances, you can have a conversation with an individual in that hiring process to determine, where they're at, what steps they've taken. There's a number of organizations that are helping those individuals and can identify the folks who are ready to work. And so maybe an entry level point for some of those employers is to connect with some of those organizations that are helping in the transition from the justice system into employment.
Do you have a framework?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, there are longstanding stigmas there. And frankly, individuals coming out of the justice system are not all going to be the right fit and for every position that's out there. But that's no different than anyone else that's going to come across your desk as a resume. So it's about finding the right fit, but you got to open the door for those individuals.
Absolutely. And I think that I'm glad that we're in that space. Certainly Goodwill has been in that space and tremendous partners in that and certainly more work to be done there. Yeah. I want to pull back a little bit on workforce, and if I reflect on our economic outlook event that we had just a few weeks ago, there was one slide that really stuck with me, which was the population inversion, essentially the replacement rate in which we're bringing new people into the workforce. We're like the rest of the world, we're not replacing fast enough.
Right.
And at some point, we're going to be at a negative position. I know immigration's a hot button, and unfortunately, it's been really difficult to move any kind of legislation forward on a federal level. But how should we be thinking about immigration as it relates to workforce and the rest of the world?
Yeah, it has been a challenge. Certainly, Arizona had a number of statesmen in the past who were in Congress who were working on what was a good idea at the time and certainly looks like a really good idea now in hindsight, which is, some form of comprehensive immigration reform. There's been too much politics associated with it. It has been, not fixing it has unfortunately benefited too many political figures on both sides. And so I'm not taking sides there whatsoever. Immigration and something that allows for the movement of workers in and out of our economy in an appropriate way certainly makes sense, and we should be looking at some of that. It's not the only solution that's out there. Certainly we could all start having more kids, but that doesn't seem likely. Yeah. And so, really. Technology is going to help us with some of that. In terms of, whether it's AI and how we use that, which creates a whole new set of other policy discussions. The one point that I might make in that space is not only in the employment side of things, but is also in some of our core public institutions, most notably schools. Schools are taking note definitely about birth rates. They're declining. K-12 enrollment is declining. That's going to have unknown impacts on our education system. And hopefully I'm not being too Pollyanna, but I think if we look at it closely enough, we may be able to tease out the silver linings there in order to continue to enhance our education system. Maybe it's an opportunity to think differently about how we build schools or where we place schools or how students are learning. Possibly it's an opportunity to look at our teacher shortage and how we keep our best teachers in the classroom as teacher shortages may or may not wane, et cetera. So, but it's something we definitely need to be aware of because it will have dramatic impacts on, like I said, on education in particular in this example.
Well, I think what was interesting in that particular slide that I'm referring to, the comment that the rest of the world is feeling this, China, Russia, but no one's beating down their doors to go immigrate to those countries, right? But there's a reason why they want to come here, and how do we then do that in a way that makes some sense for everybody and that's safe?
Absolutely. I mean, I tend to be a very patriotic person, very interested in the basic tenets that have made America what it is today, and that's been innovation, that's been hard work, and frankly, that's been having some open arms to the benefits of immigration, migration, what have you. My own. Obviously all of our families came from somewhere else. I'm blessed that my wife is first generation here. I'm a bit muddier ancestry wise, but we need to embrace a lot of that, particularly at this point in time, because as you mentioned, it's in our self-interest to take advantage of that desire to be part of the American dream, regardless of, where you started.
Correct. Absolutely. Well, since you are the chair and we love to just impose on you, we're now thinking about 5-10 years down the road. Love to know what your thoughts are. It's easy to rest on your laurels, and great that we're doing all this work, but clearly that's not the end of it. And thinking about the future for the work of the foundation, what do we need to focus on?
I think we stay focused on the things that we are right now. We've got a clear mission that works with industry to identify what those needs are, and does so in a manner which allows us to go back and check on what the economy looks like on a regular basis and to respond to that. Even today, just within the 10 years that we've been in operation, we've had some industries that have come up and some that have come down, some that will likely be back, et cetera. And we need to be able to be responsive to that. I think if we continue to do that, we continue to work with industry, to be responsive to industry, to meet those needs, then we'll continue to be successful. We've got a number of different metrics for many of our programs. They all envision significant growth. And I think we're capable of doing that. What's been really rewarding about the work with the foundation is, in addition to the lives that we're honestly changing, the young men and women who are getting their first jobs because of interactions that we've created, individuals who are being connected to what could be a lifelong career. In addition to all of those pieces, it is nice to get the recognition that we get from all across the country. There is a regular stampede of sorts of individuals from other organizations from across the country who are coming here to see what we're doing, because it is different and it is making an impact, unlike any of what we've seen in the last 20, 25 years in workforce development. And the timing's exactly right. And so that's been spectacular. And so I think we'll continue to grow, keep our eye on the same high quality leadership that we've had to date, and stay true to that mission.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think about this idea that all this was a group of people who came together and decided that they were going to stop admiring the problem and stay with it. We call it the 10-year overnight success story for a reason. It's not easy, but it's been really great to your point, to see the way that we're impacting the lives of people in very real ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been spectacular. And we've had a number of opportunities to celebrate those successes with many of the students and their families that we've had a chance to impact, and the employers who have just such an incredible sense of pride for the role that they've been able to play in making those differences, and that's been a lot of fun as well.
Well, as we wrap up, I always like that you do describe yourself as a Pollyanna, which I think we all need to be more positive. What keeps you positive about the work you do at the Capitol, but also about our country?
Yeah, I think what keeps me positive is that I have an opportunity to work on such a diversity of issues. We're very fortunate at Veridus to have a great client list that's focused primarily on businesses and employers and how we support that. So proud of the work that we do for, whether it's the banking industry, the healthcare industry, others. And I think, some of the other work that we get to do as well, where we get to, directly impact people's lives, is helps keep me focused. And so we've had great opportunities to work in the justice reform space, the work in workforce development, where you can literally reach out and shake the hand of an individual whose life has been forever changed, is spectacular. And so those kind of opportunities, that there's folks doing this work, that we have such a vibrant community that we live in, with just great people, great organizations. And so I'm always thrilled to have the opportunity to work with them. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm, so blessed with an extraordinary family. My wife shares my passion for creating more jobs in Arizona. We have regular morning dog walk conversations about how we can do more in our community, how we can create a vibrant economy for our kids and for their friends and what have you. And so that's, super rewarding. This community has so many great opportunities for families, for students. And so that keeps me aligned. In terms of the overall picture, it is very easy to get down about, national politics at this point in time. I think there's a certain kind of amount of anger in our political system right now. I'm hoping that begins to subside. Maybe the pendulum swings back. Hopefully we learn from some of this. I think, to the extent that we've become too reliant on single sources of information, I think once people come to find that doesn't give them the whole story, that'll come around as well. And so the world is changing. It's changing very quickly. And for all of us, how we take in information, how we engage with that information, and how we deal with such a volume of information and misinformation is a skill set that we're gonna, as a society, have to get better at. And I think as we do, we'll be a more informed electorate, we'll be a more informed society, and as a result, I think we'll have continue to be successful as a country.
Absolutely. Well said. And I think now people understand why we started Evil Lobbyists for the Forces of Good. You can see Jay definitely is aligned with the forces of good. Jay, one of the things I wanted to touch on was Giving Tuesday. Can you talk a little bit about that and how folks can contribute to the work that we're doing at the Chamber?
Yeah, absolutely. Giving Tuesday is a great way to remind folks to support their community and the work that's going on. Obviously, specifically, we would love to have that support come to the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation. That gives us a phenomenal amount of support that we can then use to advance the programs that we are. As with most everything, it's gotten easier and easier to give. Certainly go to the phoenixchamber.com in order to find those links, to make those contributions. And so we'd ask folks to do that and to recognize that this isn't money just going into an organization. We're happy to share our success. We're happy to share how those dollars flow and to the schools and the students that we're working with, as well as the work that we're doing to support those folks who are underemployed and unemployed to find those careers, all with a focus on improving our overall economy and those folks that are part of it.
Thank you. And I know you are a contributor. I appreciate that. And for those of you out there, we're going to make sure we'll put a link on this podcast so you'll be able to contribute as well. Well, thanks for spending so much time. We're going to do a quick lightning round with you. Sure. We're going to start with first job.
First job, I worked as a busboy at a restaurant where I was not allowed to tell anyone how old I was.
Well, okay. What did you learn? Besides, don't tell people how old you are.
So one, I learned, how important it is to work hard. I learned how quickly a day goes by if you are keeping busy, and a couple of other life lessons that are not appropriate for the chamber.
Maybe for the cocktail party when you catch Jay.
Yeah,
it's true. I think when I meet people who did that kind of service work, you have an appreciation when you show up at someplace and somebody's back there having a tough day, and you can kind of give them a little more slack because it's tough. It's tough work.
Yeah, in many ways, it's every table at a restaurant is kind of like every office at the Capitol. You don't know what you're walking into, and so you got to be ready for it.
Absolutely. Okay, I had to go to cars. So first car.
First car was a 1982 Buick Regal.
Oh, all right.
I threatened my wife that I'll buy one again. They're hard to come by.
I wonder why.
Because most of them are loaded with batteries and hydraulics.
Okay.
And so
all right.
They've had a rough life.
Okay.
But it was a hand-me-down from my Gigi. And,
nice.
And it was a great first car.
And so looking back, your favorite? See?
There is one the one that got away, and this is probably a shout out to my daughter who was most upset when we sold it, is we had a Cobra replica at one point in time, and just a great fun car, and my wife and my family, my kids all had some great memories with that. And so I've also threatened to get one of those again here at some point.
Well, I think a lot of us are with your daughter on that one. We'd love to see that thing. It was absolutely beautiful.
It was a lot of fun. So
okay, first concert to wrap it up.
Probably would have been the Beastie Boys.
Oh, okay.
I waited a long time though. I didn't. My first concert, I was probably well into my 20s, and the Beastie Boys were young enough that they still had a young crowd. So I was even then at probably 22, I was the old guy in the crowd. But I still get a big grin out of the Beastie Boys. Although just went to the Def Leppard concert the other day.
How'd the boys do?
They hold up.
Do they?
Impressive, and they're all still together.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to expect, but man, they rocked it.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm kind of worried about them in like walkers, kind of going across the stage.
Yeah, they're a unique cast of characters, but they still got it.
Well, it definitely gives you hope. I saw the Stones in May. My wife got me tickets, and Mick Jagger I think ran for like the whole 2 hours. It was probably like 12 miles up on stage, and it looked like he was 20. So after all of this, like get into shape and go be a rock star or something.
That's all right. Second career.
There we go. Jay, thank you for spending so much time with us, but also for your leadership at the chamber, at the state, and for everything you do for our community.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for watching this episode of Let's Talk Business Phoenix. Please take a moment to tap the follow or subscribe button for more great podcast episodes to help your business thrive.